scale from 1 to 5, 6.
What's up? What it is? What it do, man? Happy Friday, Super Bowl Friday. The big game is in 2 days, y'all. The big game is in 2 days, y'all. As I always do, to start it off, man. Shout out to Herb, Tay. Shout out to John. Silent Talk family. What's going on, brothers? Probably gonna have them in, or I'm gonna ask them to join in after this week as we get into scouting and who they're looking at and see what we can do, man. Just to get the whole sideline talk family back together. But y'all can see on the ticker, follow Al You Bugging on Instagram and on YouTube at Al_you_bugging. All right, man. Let's get into it. Before we get into the Super Bowl talks, I'm going to start here. The NFL Honors was on last night. There we go. All right, the NFL Honors was on last night. This is where they give up the biggest NFL awards, MVP, and they also say who's in the Hall of Fame. So just to start with the Hall of Fame, you have Jared Allen going in, you have Eric Allen going in, you have Sterling Sharp going in, and you have Antonio Gates going in. They only did 4 inductees this year. That's very unusual. Just for a point of reference of how many people went in last year. I'm trying to see. Last year you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people get in. Right, Freeney, Devin Hester, Gradishaw, Tom Jackson. Well, I'm sorry, Randy Gradishaw, Julius Peppers, went in, Andre Johnson. So for some odd reason this year, it was a lot less players that got in, from what I could see. So I don't know why. Obviously, being in Baltimore, we feel the biggest snub was Terrell Suggs, especially for Jared Allen to get in over Terrell Suggs. And Jared Allen, Rhinestone Cowboy, was a hell of a ball player. He was never a better ball player than Terrell Suggs. I mean, his number 1 year, he had 22 sacks. That was his highest sack total as a pass rusher. In that year, Terrell Suggs was named Defensive Player of the Year because he does so much and affects the game so many different places other than just pass rushing, and it's not his main duty. Again, we felt like that was a snub, but Steve Smith could have been in, I think he gets in eventually. Selfishly, with Drew Brees being on the ballot for first ballot Hall of Fame next year, and Larry Fitzgerald being on the ballot for first ballot Hall of Fame next year, I'm hoping that we can get get those 2 in with Terrell Suggs next year and maybe another player. Selfishly, that's what I'm hoping for. And then let's go to the awards. So last night, Josh Allen was named the MVP. It was a very tight race between them, him and Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen took the crown, as I initially stated. Again, I am a Lamar Jackson fan, as you could see, as the the pennant behind me shows. I am a Lamar Jackson guy, but I feel like, Josh Allen, I called it back in September that Josh Allen was probably going to be due for his MVP this year. Just going off of how he was playing, what the team was looking like, et cetera, et cetera. I felt like this was going to be the Josh Allen year. And here it is. A few months later, I was proven right. So he was named the MVP. Defensive Player of the Year was Patrick Surtain II. And again, as I stated earlier in the year, we can go back. And look, I asked the question: are we sure that Sauce Gardner is leaps and bounds better than Patrick Surtain II? I always thought that was weird how people just automatically penciled Sauce in as the number one corner. Not saying that Sauce is not good, but I think Sauce, Jair Alexander, PS2, um, uh, Stingley, Derek Stingley Jr. down in Houston. I believe they all have a claim to that throne as the best corner in the league, and each of them could be the best corner in the league depending on what you need from them and what game it is. Honestly, so shout out to PS2 for winning his first Defensive Player of the Year award. Offensive Player of the Year, of course, Saquon Barkley. Kind of mad he don't have the Russian trophy, but he's going for a bigger trophy. I'm sorry, the all-time Russian trophy, but he's going for a bigger trophy this weekend, and we're about to talk about that in a minute. But Saquon Barkley, I wish he would have got the all-time record for rushing yards this year. There's no guarantee that he'll ever get back to what he did this year. I'm praying that he does, and hopefully he gets a chance to get that record in 16 games, so it doesn't even matter if he rushed the 17th or not. MVP, defensive rookie of the year. I've called it since I first scouted this man. Jerry Verse from the Rams, defensive player of the year. I'm sorry, defensive rookie of the year. Jerry Verse. That was a no-brainer. And then offensive rookie of the year, as you saw the year go on, it was clear and obvious that Jaden Daniels was going to be offensive rookie of the year. That was, I don't think you can argue any of those. Maybe you could argue the defensive player of the year because I kind of thought it would go to Brian Branch or Xavier McKinney, but I'm not saying PS2 is not deserving of it, so that's why I wouldn't argue it. But congratulations to all of those honors and everybody that was elected to the Hall of Fame. Now, the show of all shows, the Super Bowl is coming up. Super Bowl. So we got Kansas City Chiefs playing up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So top 5 Kansas City Chiefs players. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes. And I'm saying top 5 players in this game coming up. The top 5 players that's going to be used and to be efficient and need to be efficient in this game. Let me explain that before I actually get into this list. So Patrick Mahomes, again, we already know Kansas City is led, is driven. The buck stops with Patrick Mahomes having a great day. That's already a given. Going to defensive side, Chris Jones, defensive tackle. You're going to hear me talk about interior pressure all night tonight. Interior pressure. Chris Jones is the epitome of it. Now that Aaron Donald is no longer in the league, it is Chris Jones, hands, elbows, knees, and toes above the rest of the league as far as A-gap pressures. Shout out to Dexter Lawrence, but Chris Jones, to me, hands down, best defensive lineman, A-gap pressure in the game. And you can move him anywhere. Travis Kelce, hearing rumors that this could possibly be his last game. Travis Kelce is not as explosive as he once was, but Travis Kelce is that security blanket. Whenever Pat starts getting any type of under duress, you know where his bread is butter, and that's throwing at Travis Kelce. Joe Thuney, the best offensive lineman that the Chiefs have. The way to win this game for the Chiefs, or one of the ways, is to make sure 15 is upright. If 15 is upright and having a hell of a game, the game gets a lot easier for the Chiefs to win. And last 5, the 5th player who's going to be a major key in this game is Trent McDuffie. Now, Trent McDuffie is the corner for the Kansas City Chiefs, if you don't know. You probably, if I could bet on Spags and what he would want to do defensively, pressure up front with his guys, take away Saquon Barkley, take away the edge, and line Trent McDuffie up one-on-one with A.J. Brown. If Trent can erase A.J. Brown and they take away Saquon Barkley, this game gets a lot easier for Kansas City to win and repeat. All right. So who needs to have a big game outside of those five? We're gonna call them the X factors. I'm gonna go with Nook. DeAndre Hopkins was brought in to be the veteran, sure-handed guy for the Chiefs offense, to be that number one wide receiver, the number one threat on the outside. He doesn't get separation anymore, or never really did, running. But his separations always came vertically. You throw it up, Nook gonna go get it. And he needs to win those 50-50 balls this weekend. I mentioned shutting down. No, I didn't. I mentioned slowing down Saquon Barkley. Ain't no shutting that man down. I mentioned slowing down Saquon Barkley. That starts on the outside. If George Karlaftis could funnel everything into the middle of the field and set the edge and make sure Saquon don't have that edge, if he can make sure that happens, this game becomes a lot easier for the Chiefs to win that third. So George Karlaftis is going to be my X factor on the defense for the Chiefs. All right. So keys to win for the Chiefs. They have to contain Saquon Barkley. They have to. They cannot let Saquon go off. He's had a 60-yard touchdown run every game this year in the postseason. They cannot let him go off. Containing Saquon Barkley is number one on the defensive playlist. Also, if you're containing Saquon Barkley, you must win the time of possession. Now, the Chiefs are not necessarily known for their run game, but Isaiah Pacheco could easily be the X factor for the offense as well. If he can contain and keep the Eagles on the sideline and keep, a lead. Now Eagles get in hurry up mode. Now Eagles go away from their run a little bit more and put the game into Jalen Hurts' hands, which is not a bad plan. Not a bad plan, but it's not your number one plan. It's not your number one option if you're the Eagles. And the last key that I'm going to give the Chiefs to win this game is they got to keep 15 upright. The last time that the Chiefs lost a Super Bowl, it was because 15 was under the rest and in the dirt all game. The Chiefs line has to keep 15 upright and safe. So those are the three keys for the Chiefs. Right? Let's flip it over to the green side. Philadelphia Eagles top 5 players that need to play well Sunday. Saquon Barkley. Starts and ends with Saquon Barkley. If he is becoming a terror against the Chiefs defense and Spags is going in there with the plan to stop Saquon Barkley and limit what he could do, if he blows past that game plan, that game becomes a lot easier for Philadelphia. I mentioned Trent McDuffie for the Chiefs. Just as important, A.J. Brown has to dominate that matchup. Like I said with Nook, A.J. Brown is faster, but his best is making 50-50 balls become 70-30, 80-20 balls because he goes against it. He's athletic and, physical and yada, yada. We know all that. Jalen Carter is another person, the third person that I'm going to mention. I mentioned with Chris Jones. Just flip the same thing over to the defense with the Eagles. A-gap pressures. Like I said, when Pat Mahomes is moving off of his spot and ain't got time to pat the ball, and you can move him and you make him do all of these tricks and run outside and run downfield and extend plays, if you're doing that and you're getting to him and you're knocking him down, again, it's going to speed up his clock. You don't want him playing on his tempo. So you kind of speed that up. The fourth, Darius Slay. I don't know which receiver they're going to want to line him up on. But receiver rights cannot go off. If receiver rights go off, you hang it up. If Hollywood Brown is the guy, move Slay on him. Don't really matter which one you want to take away. Just make sure it's not an easy night for the Chiefs offense. Slay. And I'm going to put Jalen Hurts as the fifth best player because if all else fails, and like I said, Spag's number one thing is to come in, take away this run, and make sure that Saquon Barkley does not go off. Jalen Hurts, you're up. You got to make sure that the pass game is on and popping. You got to make sure that you protect the ball. You got to make sure that this offense is converting. Speaking of converting, that's one of the keys for the Eagles to win. I'm going to go to the X factors real quick. You got Devontae Smith on the offense. Like I said, if they take away the run, Jalen Hurts need to have options. You got Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, you have Devontae Smith on the outside. If A.J. Brown is lined up with Trent McDuffie, Devontae Smith is on their second best corner. Also, you got Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert can be a reliable hand, a change of pace type of player for them. But Devontae Smith, if he can get off, if he can hit home runs against this defense and kind of change what Spags want to come in and do, that can go a long way, making this night easy for the Eagles. Also, Zach Bond on the defense. I believe Zach Bond is the key to the defense. The defense cannot have a bad game. They just cannot. Zach Bond has played very well this year. If there was a NFL equivalent of most improved player like they did in the NBA, Zach Bond will probably get it. Zach Bond has to finish this season with a great night Sunday night. I believe him and the other middle linebacker. As we noticed with last year's game, San Francisco was very dominant and very limiting to what the Chiefs could do until Dre Greenlaw went out. When Dre Greenlaw went out and all the pressure went to Fred Warner, Fred is amazing, but Fred can't do everything on the field. So Zach Bond and his defense has to have a great night. All right, y'all. So 3 ways for the Eagles to win. I've already mentioned it. Interior defensive pressure. Get Pat off his spot. Pat has to move. Pat has to not be comfortable. You got to get to him quick. Have him bring checkdowns. Have him throw to the flats. Hell, have him hand the ball off. Run outside. It doesn't matter. You have to get the ball out of Pat Mahomes' hands quick. Get it out of his hands quick. Convert third and fourth downs. Now, we know the tush push, if it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, they're going for it. They're going to line it up. They're going to tush push. That's been their plays, been their bread and butter. It's got them this far. Why would you change it now? You have to convert these and keep Pat on the sidelines. You have to. When your offense has the ball, you got to dominate with your run game, with controlling the clock, with your short game. You have the better offensive line. Your offensive line has to be dominant. And then the last thing, but definitely not the least thing, when you play against the dynasty, people tend to get tight. People tend to say, oh, crap, Maybe not oh crap, but we're up. Oh blank, filling in whatever word you need there. We're up. I can't believe it. We're dominating them. And then they get into things that are uncharacteristic, turnovers, penalties, etc., etc. Stay true to who you are. Don't chase the Chiefs. You're not going to beat the Chiefs trying to play the Chiefs game. As you can see, Ravens fan, you got the ball back there. In 2012, the last time the Ravens went to a Super Bowl, we had to go up against the dynasty of New England. I've always mentioned the Ravens stayed true to who they were, and in the second half, they played Raven football and won. Don't know why we changed from it nowadays. And when we play somebody, we try to go to what we think they think we're not going to do, and then we try to fight them with our left hand. Stop doing that shit. Pardon my language. Stop doing that. Eagles cannot do that. Beat them with what got you to this game. You know them for forcing turnovers. Force turnovers. Go for the knockout. Go for the knockout blow if you have it. Hell, run the sweep to get Saquon out there. You got to stick with Saquon. Whether it looks like it's getting shut down or not, you got to stick with it. Again, you have the better offensive line. Be dominant behind that offensive line. Do what got you to the big game. Do not change it. All right, so who do I think is going to win this game? Who do I have? I'm going with the Eagles to end the three-peat. I'm going with the Eagles to win this game. I'm giving the Chiefs a champion advantage. I think they keep it close, but I think, like I said, if the Eagles do what got them to this point, I don't see how the Chiefs have enough to contend with the Eagles. Again, got number one scoring defense. They got a number one rushing offense. They can pass the ball. They can stop the pass. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, etc. on this team. It's one of the most loaded teams that they're going to have. If not now, when? And you stop Saquon Barkley from going for the record so that y'all can be healthy and playing in this game. Why not get the actual trophy that you want? I'm going with the Eagles to win. I'm going to pick a score of 38-28. 38-28, Philadelphia wins. All right, y'all. One last segment before I'm out of here. Am I bugging on what is more dominant? Now, we already know. I just said the Eagles were going to win this. But if they happen to lose and the Chiefs get 3 Super Bowl wins, it would be 4 in the last, 5 years? 4 in the last 6? Something like that. I tend to think 3 in a row is more dominant than 7 in 21 years. Call me crazy. Being the first team to win 3 straight in the NFL, I think not only would elevate Pat Mahomes closer to Tom Brady in this GOAT discussion. Not going to say he passed him. I think he has, but I'm not going to say that. I think the 3 in a row is way more dominant than 7 in 21 years. I think this would make them the most dominant NFL dynasty in history because no one has been back with a chance to three-peat. I know the Patriots went 3 years in a row, and the Eagles stopped them in the middle of their 3, so it wasn't technically a chance to win 3 in a row. No one has really had a chance to win 3 in a row. So they're the first team to do it. I believe that is more dominant than 7 in 21 years, which would make them the most dominant franchise in the history of the NFL. Probably bugging, but y'all let me know what y'all think. All right, man. That is my show for this evening. Maybe back after the Super Bowl next Friday to chop it up to see what happened, see what my predictions were, how right I was, how wrong I was. Again, it's called Are You Bugging? I am your host, Alan C, and the place to be. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. This episode will be uploaded. Be blessed, be productive, be more. Love you. Be out.